Welcome back, everyone. We're getting ready for our second match here in the NA region. It's going to be another elimination match. 2 squads fighting for survival. Let's dive straight into our first roster. Beluga is the one I want to take a look at first. I mean, I think the most notable player in this entire squad has got to be Halo. She was with Boston Uprising in 2020 and OWCS in 2023. Plenty of success, of course, also in Calling All Heroes, Collegiate, Contenders, you name it. But there's a lot of well-known faces in there. Also, Bun's Genji is nasty. Like, I remember you, Bun.
Yeah, no, we've seen both of these players play before as well. I love also that, I guess, Beluga is the team captain. They just named themselves after
Sit on the bench.
That's
real
good
team
leadership.
Costa vibes there.
Oh man. Let's talk about another pirate slash ninja pajamas. Can we? We're still doing.
Can
this.
we stop that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Pirates and ninjas are not the same.
No.
They're adjacent. Magic Mball. I think that's also definitely a player no one will ever forget. Be that just for the name.
Yeah, of course. I mean, name's great. Also, I think like it's worth casting your minds back to that Wisp roster, right?
Yep.
That team really made some waves, I think, in the pro-ams throughout last year, and really impressed us. Struggled at points, but yeah, found some great results. So, you know, this is a team that, again, when we have these elimination matches, it's important to remember that, like, prior to this, we don't get to see a ton from these teams because quite often they struggle in like 3-0s, right? They come out against the top teams. They're in this elimination game. So this is like their best chance, these elimination matches, to sort of see what these teams can provide. Like both of these rosters, right? I think Beluga's Platoon took a map off Dreamland, so that's something to go on. But that's really all we're working with.
Yeah, they did. Students of the Game was the team that PIP went up against, and they ended up losing that one 3-0. And then Students of the Game ended up going on and winning against Dreamland 3-0 as well. So, which gives you an idea how strong Students of the Game was. Kind of going clean throughout the group, where Beluga's Platoon gave Dreamland some potential trouble. Right, 3-1 gives you an idea of the series went pretty far. Lijiang Tower here to kick things off. We are going to get... Okay, so this is going to be a Maga mirror matchup with Sombra in the mix.
All right, no May yet. Seen him work really well on this map, but that's not where either of these two teams are leaning. He's that neutral again. Sawhill taken low early. Pastel also seen better days. Great start here for Stone. And without any of those ultimates drawn out, we don't have a long extended fight as these two teams are actually have a sort of derive advantages long before that.
Yeah, it looked like a really early overdrive there from Sawhill on Beluga's Platoon. So you don't have all that extra kind of team healing, team kind of leech there for that mid to neutral fight like you mentioned. And you end up coming out on the downside of it.
So he wants to try and make the way back in once more. It's an EMP or real life for Chronic, though, and immediately it gets used, and it's devastating. The overrun there from Strider, cleaning Bun up to start the fight.
I think it's a headshot with the overrun.
Wait, what?
As well. Yeah, I believe.
You can do that?
I think it can crit. I believe, I am not no Maga expert, but I believe you can. Yeah, I refuse to play the Maga, but I believe you actually can crit.
As someone who's played rugby against people from Samoa, that shoulder can crit. It can crit hard. I'll be honest with you. Strider here, cage match being used, sound barrier, the natural response here. Beluga's Platoon able to withstand that early amount of damage. Magic Mball Divinity try as they might, cannot keep PIP standing at the start of that fight and losing the Malga. Oh wow, can't be a great sight.
No, and if you can flip this for Beluga's Platoon without using the EMP, that is huge, right? Because Bun can use the EMP coming up next, you think, win the fight off of the back of that, and then maybe you're in a good spot. But look at this, Strider right back in the mix.
Yeah, another shoulder charge crit. Love to see that. And people waste no time in getting back. They never even concede the point.
Oh, man.
I mean,
they use the EMP as well there, does Beluga's Platoon.
Oh, gosh. Chronic has theirs online again as well. That really just ended the fight immediately. This could be a very, very fast round here. Beluga's Platoon, knowingly or otherwise, about to walk headlong into another EMP. Hard to track, potentially, over the course of these fights. Chronic goes for Doe. Cage match doesn't stop them from getting great connection, and Stone spins on in. At 3 with a Death Blossom. And that's that for Beluga's Platoon in this first round.
I mean, just a dominant showing by Pirates in Pajamas here early on. Doing a great job kind of cycling these ultimates. Beluga's Platoon, I thought, had an advantage where if they would have been able to flip the point, having Bun hold on to her EMP, he would have been a great spot to potentially kind of like, you know, extend that. But Stretch comes right back in on the Maul, picks up 2, and then it's right back in control. Pirates in Pajamas.
Not really a whole lot to mention here. I think the one opportunity Beluga's Platoon had was that early pick on Strider, where they shrug off the cage match and have like a well-timed sound barrier. It comes at just the right time, and Pirates in Pajamas aren't able to emulate that to any degree. But they stay alive in their fight because their sustain is so inherently high, and it's enough time for Strider to literally just saunter back over to the fight, get involved, find a great connection on the stomp, and then again they're back in control.
Yeah, and keep an eye on when these Morgas decide to pop that like cardiac overdrive, right? It's such a huge cooldown. They'll kind of like glow a little bit if they're on first person. They kind of have that bar in the middle of their screen, and just the ability to give kind of that overhealth to everybody else. You know, the leech is massive. Is that time it looks like it's Sahil using it early on, maybe trying to go and push up to get a kill, but they lose Pastel.
A lot of pressure here on Sahil. Once again, losing that key DPS at the start of the fight. That happened to Pastel at the start of that Gardens engagement. And look how quickly these Sombra ultimates get accrued. Even in a losing fight, Bungie's been able to build up a 91% charge.
So, oh wow, they lose Magic Mball. I don't want to wear you flame from old and good soil. That triple there is just kind of comes out of nowhere. So that's one way to flip the point here for Beluga's Platoon.
We have seen this multiple times now over the course of this, the very start of this series. Is he really make an entrance on that Malga? Overrun into Stomp is incredibly powerful combination with that short stun attached to it as well, if you're able to catch them close to the epicenter. Absolutely brutal stuff.
So they'll have Bun's EMP here. Coalescence from neutral. Kick things off. That's going to be an EMP. Nice sound barrier in response from Halo.
Yeah, it's good from Halo, but Pastel doesn't have the opportunity to Wraith walk away. Once they realize that things are about to get ugly, Bun playing from the extremities here, but can't get remotely close enough to confirm any kills, and is too low in HP to make a difference.
Yeah, but you'll come back. You'll have, Bun's EMP, and then you'll also have the Death Blossom here for Pastel. So potentially an opportunity where if Pirates in Pajamas plays close, maybe you can get that sound barrier out, counter with that EMP, maybe get a speed boost in with your Death Blossom. That's going to be a K-Trench early from Sahil.
Oh, the beat, is it enough? No, EMP comes in. Okay, Magic Mball. The ultimate was there, but no coming back for that wombo from Beluga's Platoon. Finally, Pastel able to drag them out of that fight there. The EMP from Bun, that was sublime.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they need, right? Pastel, she comes down from the higher ground, big Death Blossom with Bun using that EMP in the mix. So Beluga's Platoon does not want to go down like they did that first time. It's going to be a cage match they walk right into.
Yeah, Pirates in Pajamas want this fight. They want it bad. And they get the result they came for. Straight back to the point now. And they'll be flipping just. The score is approximately equalized. They spend a bit on that. But Chronic will be sitting on an EMP heading into this next fight. The timing of this is important, with Neutral and Halo both getting close to key support ultimates.
Yeah, and I think both these teams, you see some fights where that time it's like Beluga's Platoon, they get aggressive, they go right into the cage match. I think both teams, really just about everybody, just figuring out how you kind of play around some of these ultimates at the moment. That's how you lose Halo right away. You have to back out, but you don't have that speed.
Chronic now, they're considering whether they even need the EMP. Coalescence might not be enough to draw this out of them here. They see Neutral going for that call, but no one really benefiting from it there. And that's one ultimate unable to be used in that fight, or unable to be built from Halo, and the Coalescence absolutely shrugged off here by Pirates in Pajamas, and you still have an EMP. Enough now that you can try and end the round, as Bun will likely have one as well. It's all about getting it off first.
Yeah, I was going to say, where does Chronic play with this? Is Bun trying to work around the outside potentially here?
She's got a good angle, but thinks twice about it. Yeah, it's going to be Chronic letting this go. Sound barrier is going to be there, though. Halo, they do a great job of getting into a position to get use out of that ability, and will throw the Death Blossom in to confirm the fight win. That was excellent. Both Halo and Bun knew exactly how to play around Chronic's EMP.
Yeah, it seems like Bungie just kind of like baited out the EMP on the other side, and then after that, when the EMP comes in from Chronic, it's Halo, the beautiful sound barrier, and then once you get that second EMP, and that fight's kind of like all just taking place because, you know, both teams are so committed at that moment, the second EMP is massive.
Soundberry here, though, for Magic Mball. You've got a lot of brute force
really
in this fight, caught in the cage match, but still able to get the ultimate out as they drop down. Death Blossom here. I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me. Now we'll see Strider throw the cage match down, but no one really here. Only the spectators looking on and jeering at the Fallen as Beluga's Platoon will have to have Bun give it a tickle. She'll be forced away very quickly. Neutral looking to do the same. Sawhill has returned to the fray now on the Doomfist. A hack here would be devastating, though, for Doomfist's ability to stay alive. But Chronic gets brought down. Pastel's able to find that Sombra here, and somehow Sawhill stood for so long. Very aggressive Cole there from Neutral, looking for whatever they can find. Eventually going to be slurped on down. It will just be Halo looking in from outside of the point. The Fire drops down as Pastel removed. And Pirates in Pajamas seal up this first map.
A really competitive map number 1 between both teams there. I think it just comes down to, like, you know, when you're going to use that cardiac overdrive, like maybe using it a little bit early, and then also some of the fights, like the, you know, that last one, for instance, right? Like Solons have taken like a chunk of damage, not really sure from where. And once you get that Maga that low, the other team, you know, can just kind of like dash right in there and make a play for the point.
What are you looking for in the cardiac overdrive timing then? You know, like there is a too early and too late, so there has to be a condition in which you can best employ it.
Or like how you're going to use it, right? Do you want to get aggressive behind it? Like it feels like to just use it and stand there in the neutral and trade doesn't really do much of anything, because then let's say you decide to push in after that. The other team, they have that cardiac overdrive. They have like an inherent heal advantage as long as they're doing damage, right? Like it feels like you're in a bad spot then. So I think teams probably, you know, some of the pro teams, you know, or remnants of pro teams from last year, right? They probably have a really good idea of kind of like how to use that and whatnot. But like Maga, like he was super popular and ranked for a while, right? Like I know we saw a little bit of him. I know in like you know, not really an owl, but like in other forms of play, right? For whatever reason, I think like we didn't really see a ton of Maga in owl.
Wow, but that's because Maga was released. I mean,
yeah.
So
yeah, right. I was like, wait a second. I was like, we never saw anybody really run this. Yeah, so. Like in other competitions, we did see like Maga be played, right? But obviously, it's a way different game now with the DPS passive and everything going on. Where I think just trying to figure out ways to, you know, get the most value out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But the rest of these comps, right? They look as they always have. When it's a high sustain, death ball, low mobility-esque type sort of look, right? Maga is the big difference maker here. And I thought like you point out the timing of the Maga cooldowns, because they're very impactful, right? Whether you're charging in and stomping, we could just see how huge it was in that first clip where there was an EMP behind it. I love this disengage. Not only does Bungie get out,
yeah, this is awesome.
Halo also gets out of that EMP. Very, very nicely done. It's a little unfortunate the way the sort of fight transpired after that, because it's just a brute force Magic Mball EMP. You see, rather sound barrier. You see it here inside the cage match, a little risky. And the Death Blossom, which you don't really have the defensive or the healing-based cooldowns to mitigate. So you end up just having to take the full brunt of that.
And I'm curious, in the last series, right, we saw both teams kind of move away from Maga as the series went on. What we see in this one, whether we see kind of like the Maga commitment, whether we see them kind of like change, you know, around, maybe there's some Sigma play here. I for whatever reason, it feels like maybe like the last series was like so one-sided in the end, you kind of like use that as like an outlier, like that's not how things are going to go down, where they just decided to mirror because they felt it was the safest option, right? And
mirroring the Sigma comp probably is. Also, it's like, how much experience do they have of playing Maga against a Sigma comp at this point? I mean, speaking to Dynasty, I mean, they felt like they actually had it pretty solved and that the meta was fairly straightforward. But I don't think we see that unless a team actually chooses to opt out of the Maga comp. And plenty of teams losing in a Maga mirror will still not do that. They will still play it. They will still try and find advantages. So I had suspicion that might be a little bit of an outlier. King's Row, of course, and the comp that plays well around Maga doesn't really do a whole lot with high ground always. And
I think the fights
on the low ground.
The fights are also like, and the map was so competitive that I also, if you're like Beluga Platoon, right, I don't think the conversation is like, oh, we just can't play this against this team, we have to change, right? Like, I think it's like, oh, okay, maybe we play this situation a little bit differently, this other situation, I know, a different way, right? And then you're kind of good to go.
Quite possibly. Yeah, I mean, there's not enough evidence to suggest you can't hang in the mirror.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a decision that we could even have seen made in the previous match. You know, you could just say we need to tighten up the calling and some of our, like, cooldown usage. Again, like we talked about how the neutral is so one-sided on that first map. And then what tends to happen is that for every fight after that, both teams have at least 2 ultimates of some kind. And they're all game-winning, they're all impactful. Like, Pirates in Pajamas win that previous game, that previous map, Lijiang, without EMP or cage match or colossus. It's just like sound barrier, death blossom. So you have like a number of combinations that can be fight winning on their own. You don't have to wait to build up a critical mass. So you don't always get that ultless neutral after the first fight, because it's for most of the maps, one of the teams or both has enough ultimates to create a combo.
So it looks like Pirates in Pajamas up on the high ground here, kick things off. Yeah, like we kind of thought potentially, no changes in terms of comp, where Beluga's Platoon gonna try and play point, but play like underneath this high ground, force a drop down.
Already used Cardiac Overdrive, both sides have, and okay, as that expires, they back away. This is a little bit scary though. I like Halo trying to run interference there, make it harder for Pirates in Pajamas to chase this down, but now you have no Lucio to help you get out in the first place. Your tool to stop the chase was also the one you needed to run.
Yeah, I mean, right there you see not able to make it out. It's a little chase down here from Pirates in Pajamas, where you did get some point progress here for Beluga's Platoon, but they try and force the fight like lower, right? They kind of have, I know, a few players play underneath the point, you know, force, you know, Pirates in Pajamas to jump down, and then once you lose the Lucio, it's like all your speed and mobility taken away.
The low ground feels uncomfortable to play here, Matt, because, you know, Pirates in Pajamas, Chronic and Stone can drop in kind of wherever they want to here. They don't have to always fight their way through a front line or risk getting caught on the way to a back line. There's no Cassidy grenade. There's not even a lot of, like, solid CC to stop, like, a flanking hero. So it's a little bit scary. You can pick and choose, and Pirates in Pajamas, like, just spend the EMP. One ultimate fight win in this economy is extremely important.
Yeah, Beluga's Platoon, they end up using an EMP as well. In Coalescence, you just don't now, like, what do you do? It's pretty much a dry fight, right? You're running in here, you know, it's going to be the Cage Wrench Death Blossom combo. There's no way you're going to live through this.
That's so messed up. And you have both support ults. Oh, God.
Right.
You use no support ults. In fact, the person really doing all the work was Stone there. They drop in. Obviously, Cardiac Overdrive is pretty powerful when you already have, you know, some degree of lifesteal. But that is absolutely brutal, and really rationing these ultimates well, such that EMP will be back for the next fight. You'll always have something to play with.
So Beluga's Platoon, it just looks like they're trying to figure out, like, how do they want to attack this. They're going to go lower again. Like, you see, there's no real line of sight for, you know, Pirates in Pajamas to do damage. I feel like they have to know they're going to be jumping into... Oh, what was that? As Pass Down just dominates Stone there.
Yeah, I guess just, like, insta-kill, the headshot hitbox just lining up perfectly. Support ultimate's coming out now. That's been enough, at least, for Pirates in Pajamas to bring the Malga down. The EMP from Bun, though. Can it save the day? Looks like that's a yes. Great follow-up there, as well as Pastel found 2. Not counting, of course, that Stone pick as they dropped straight onto the point, like their namesake. The start of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge early pickoff, right? I mean, the Reaper's a large source of damage, especially when you're going to fight in that close quarter area. And for Pastel to find Stone early, that is a huge pickup for Beluga's Platoon. That's going to get the payload moving here through the second phase of the map. So, but maybe you get a cage match during this if you're Pirates in Pajamas. But otherwise, I mean, this is one of the rare fights where I think we're going to see like no ultimates on both sides.
Just try to not convinced there by that stomp. Unwilling to commit, but Stone was playing in the front line quite happily. You can see like 4 or 5 players at any one time benefiting from Cardiac Overdrive. You know you are playing in a Death Ball setup. Great pursuit here. Well, if there was a fade available, yep, it's going to be used now. Neutral has to pull the plug on that one.
And now this is brutal because you're going to be like stuck in this first choke and EMPs, cage fight, like, this feels like where you can get like a few good holds here if you're Pirates in Pajamas. I go early EMP here, yeah.
Unavoids it. They're going to use an EMP to follow straight up. I like the timing from her, but again, Pirates in Pajamas already able to get some of these big ultimates out. Losing one player is enough.
And it looks like what happened there to Pastel was it was the EMP plus the virus, and then it looks like they got hit by the stomp and like knocked down and just not able to use any of the cooldowns like you know, Wraithwalk to get away.
Yeah, it's a pretty long lockout, isn't it? After getting EMP, the knockdown is pretty obnoxious. So
it's a brutal combo.
2 minutes to play here for Beluga's Platoon. Stone again. May consider, reconsider playing too close here after the fact, though, coming with the Death Blossom. Most of Beluga's Platoon able to disperse away from that, but Sawhill was not fast enough or lucky enough. Pick your poison. Chronic now, spearheading back into the choke right behind Strider.
Yeah, so it looks like they just go back and get the cleanup. So this is what I was talking about. Like, this choke, I mean, think about this choke, like, even during, you know, GOATs back in the day, right? It was really difficult to get through. His neutral. It looks like potentially caught out here. Is, what's going on? Are they going to chase this? No, they're going to back up.
I like this. A little bit of action on the card. They might have a chance to get a short-handed engagement or one that favors them. Halo brought down. Interesting, the EMP committed there by Bunch. He's hoping to start a fight the rest of the team could follow up on, but they are just a little too late to the scene.
It's coalesces for both sides. I don't think you can push this if you're Beluga's Platoon, right? Yeah, you need Sawhill back in the fight. And look at this. It's just kind of like the cycle of life, right? You're going to be walking into another EMP. Like,
is that the cycle of life?
Yep, you just walk into an EMP,
well, I would
you
rather
walk into a cage match.
Then.
You walk into a cage match.
Just make me an avocado and be done with it. That's not the kind of life I'm out here trying to live. I'll be honest with you.
Man, it's so difficult. Like, what do you even, you know, this is the same way I kind of felt when you watched, you know, GOATs. It's like, sometimes, like, there's just not really a play that you can make.
It feels deterministic,
like,
right?
Like, right there, like, Pastel, like, you know, what is she supposed to do? Like, you know, get to with an EMP. They have a speed boost and they just run into a doorway with, like, you know, 3 players. Like, there's nothing you can really do in that situation.
Cycle of life continues. The wheel keeps turning, as they say. Beluga's Platoon have to come up with an answer. This time, though, it's a cage match immediately. Pastel does able to bring Divinity down a little bit too close to the front line for the Moira, perhaps. But Stone has the Death Blossom of their own. Mutual knockdown between the Malgas, but one has friends. The other is all on their lonesome. And Beluga's Platoon are halted here, midway through second.
Yeah, and for Beluga's Platoon, right, you got first point. You got it through that choke, although not, you know, around the first or second corner. So you do give yourself an opportunity to potentially, you know, still win the map, right? A full hold here, obviously a terrible scenario. Probably just as bad as actually having the payload stop underneath that first archway. Like, that is, because, like, where the spawns are, right, and when you get spawned out, there'd be, like, really no opportunity to contest, where here, depending on, like, how, like, long a fight goes, there's still an opportunity. So obviously not ideal for Beluga's Platoon, but still in a spot where you can actually make something happen out of this.
We did see how difficult it was to attack point A with this kind of composition, right? You have to try and draw the defenders down. You probably don't have the option or enough mobility to assail the high ground and push them off that way. At least we haven't sort of seen that yet. We do. I mean, that would be fun. That'd be very fun.
We've also seen, I would say as well, like, as you know, when we kind of talked a little bit in the pre-game, so Chronic showing off
the Edward Walk
is the new emote. Yup, the Edward Walk. I knew which one it was. But we talked a little bit about, you know, and so it was like, well, what are you looking at, you know, this weekend? It was kind of like, well, there's a lot of stuff from last week and you just kind of have to, like, throw away a little bit. Because this is why, like, we've seen Beluga's Platoon, we've seen a lot of these players before, and, like, they are really talented and really good. A meta like this, though, is way more kind of like cooldown usage and, like, playing around the team, as opposed to, you know, individual player, you know, does, like,
there's less room for that.
This, right? Sure. Yeah, so it can take teams that really thrive on, like, individual players making awesome plays, and really kind of throw them for a loop. And I think also on, like, short note, like, you know, not exactly short notice, right? Everybody knew there was a patch, but you don't exactly know what the meta is going to be with a patch. But, like, on short notice, like, it's really difficult to then adjust. Like, think about with GOATs. We saw teams that were like, awesome at like different styles of play, like be pretty bad at it.
Yep, like
just
the
because
Philadelphia
of the way the
Fusion.
nature was.
We were practicing goats
Yeah.
since like November the year before. They knew it was coming because it was in contenders. That's a great example of a team who just like couldn't figure it out. They had sick individuals. It was like Carpe close to his peak and EQO, and they couldn't make it happen. It's a different world. It's a different game. Honestly.
I also feel like this might be even more essentially, maybe volatile is not the right word, as next fight kicks off. It'll be Definity using the Coalescence here. I think they just want to like force out an ultimate and then maybe get a free EMP around this corner, try and get a win. But as a neutral gets a pick, that should be, maybe they're gonna back out as Ohela actually
Give me the beat.
ends up using the sound barrier. So in Pirates and Pajamas, you can just die here, right? If you wanted to. You're in a,
You have no reason. No reason to commit anything more. It is more volatile, Matt, to return to the conversation.
well-
because especially of the DPS passive, right? You can still insta-die.
I was going to say it's a little bit more volatile because you're having your only tank play a tank that like not a lot of people main Maga. Like not a lot of people are like, you know, consistently working on their, you know, Maga play, right? It's a hero that's been kind of like nowhere for a while. So you're now asking players to pick it up on a week's notice.
That was beautiful, by the way. I mean, cage match absolutely shut down by that EMP. And that'll be it. Pirates in Pajamas sailing toward victory in this second map here, and not a thing Beluga's Platoon can do about it. Better Malga Comp ends up finding success here. And again, that conversation we have about just what it takes to be able to pilot this Malga Comp in a mirror effectively, I'm sure it's going to continue evolving throughout the day, throughout the weekend, as well as we see all of our teams from NA and EMEA respectively try to get to grips with it. Unfortunately for Beluga's Platoon, they have to do it now. They have to figure it out.
They got to figure it. They have to figure out it, and they needed to figure it out live in front of all of us. It's just a brutal scenario. But like, I think it's like even harder than like, you know, goats, right? You had, your Reinhardt wasn't the best, right? But you had like a standout Zarya and Diva, and like, you know, you could make something work, right? And you know, we're down to one tank, so if you can't really play Maga, and like that's the hero that like kind of the, you know, everybody's orbiting around, it's really tough. And I think like Beluga's Platoon, like they've played it, you know, we've seen Sawhill actually do some nice things on the Maga, but it's kind of like the cooldown usage and like the pace and the push and pull around the Maga that I think is like kind of the difference right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. We talked about some of like the smaller cooldown uses, also like some of the micro things, like how you're charging in, where the virus is being sent, and also just like how close your supports are lingering to your front line, how, you know, dangerously close they are, orbit enemy Reapers and such, and the risk of getting caught out. Random player gets hacked, Laura gets hacked, can't fade. That's a big difference maker too. I mean, okay, listen, we lost credibility. Well, we didn't lose credibility, but we also said there was a lot of minutiae to goats, which there is. But we're saying it again here, but it's in a very different way, because I do think the volatility is much higher than the Ghost era of Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, you see right there, like the EMP plus virus, like that's a pretty substantial combo. And then look, Maga plus Reaper together in a close area with all of the lifesteal that they have going on with Moira, like it's gonna be tough. If you go into that fight as the team that's like kind of, if you think of everybody's HP bar as like just one big HP bar, if you go into that fight like, you know, 75 to 90 on the other side, like there is a very limited chance you are going to be able to win those fights, right? You're just kind of looking at total HP pools against each other here at the moment, where that's when you got to get a better idea, like, okay, when should we pull back, when should we go in,
but
like how are we prioritizing targets, like
your total HP pool depends on the amount of damage you do under cardiac overdrive as well, effectively, right? Because that's more healing that you have available to you, which you can consider as effective HP in your sort of death ball raid boss analogy here. So yeah, I hope that we have an opportunity to point a little bit more to the small stuff that really makes a difference between these two teams. I think we've tried to focus on that. This is also a matchup rather without Mei. Neither team is playing Mei, so it's a little less positional. I think it's a little less about catching chokes, and it's got a lot more to do about the timings of Reapers and Sombras, jumping in and hitting Q.
And to give you an idea of where both these teams like sat at coming into groups, right? Pirates in Pajamas is the number 12 seed overall. Beluga's Platoon is number 4. That's why I was saying, like, you know, a meta that can shake out in a way that's obviously not ideal for your team could be brutal. You know, we've seen, you know, Halo, we've seen Bun, we've seen a lot of these players do really nice things in this tournament and like in the past. And sometimes you just end up in a meta that is just, you know, you have to figure it out fast, one, and then two, like, isn't ideal.
New Queen Street going to be our third map here in this series, and for Beluga's Platoon, it could be their last in this stage of the OWCS. That's right, another elimination match is what we have in front of us now. Pirates in Pajamas have demonstrated a greater hunger, desire to move on potentially to the main event. Of course, getting out of these groups is not as simple as that, because still lurking in this group is Dreamland, who have already handed Beluga's Platoon a loss. And that Dreamland team also looking for their ticket to the main event. And that'll be obviously, again, pending the result of this matchup, right? Dreamland versus Pirates in Pajamas could actually be quite compelling. We haven't seen them play yet in this group. With how Pirates in Pajamas are looking, I think that'll be a close one.
Yeah, and I think both teams an opportunity here to make some changes before the spawn doors open up. I actually like this from Beluga's Platoon. Like, clearly what they were doing was not working. I believe in some scrims we've seen Surasa against Maga, and then this is like our first good look at the Sim, where Bun will pick this up, and Sim does tons of damage now. Like, the ramp is so much faster.
Sometimes, though, none of that matters, and your Kiriko just hits a random knife. And headshots, the most important target on the enemy team.
You'll take that. You'll take that any day you can. As it looks like Beluga's Platoon, they'll get in control of this first. And so where I think the Sim can get like really sick value here is like in that neutral fight where maybe Maga has like a little bit more survivability than like an Surasa. The ramp amount of damage you can just put down onto the Maga is like massive. They also buff the Sim turrets to like be a little bit healthier. Like, you can't exactly just melee them down, I think, anymore. Like, they live on through that.
We're pointing out that Fortify is a decent pick here. Is like Fortify tends to turn off any non-damaging effects, right? The fire, the burn is a damaging effect though, so that still, I believe, counts to some degree here, but you know, maybe that sort of longevity in the front line, as you've discussed, isn't so lopsided against the Surasa as we may first consider, because, again, that armor as well is effective damage reduction by, what, like 30%? So her effective health pool is much larger as a result of that armor.
Yeah, Beluga's Platoon got into a really weird spot there. They got control over the bot first, but just got pushed into like a really weird spot where they just kind of got surrounded there by Pirates in Pajamas. But it looks like they still have 2 players. Bun, she's still behind enemy lines. I think there's one more player as well.
This is tough for Bun. She has to contend with Sojourn being very threatening at long range and not having a shield to play from behind, like in these old sort of Ryan Symmetra Rush style comps. Also, Trace is very threatening if she can't really track them effectively as they run circles around you. To bear in mind here is Bun definitely needs to be mindful of that. She'll have her ultimate online though in just a moment here. There's the stick though. No real connect. It's going to be maybe even Suzu'd off there now as...
Yeah, that had to be a Suzu. I mean, that was a nice stick there from Stone. It had to be a Suzu that was able to save Bun, and that is going to be a big sim wall there. That potentially gets, yeah, it's still going to be able to do in the lead, but it's going to get them that bot back.
That's a big difference maker though in that fight. Bun doing well, stay alive there, deployed that ultimate. Pirates in Pajamas. Okay, making the switch to the Symmetra of their own. They're realizing that ramping damage is just far too good to pass up. Also just the frustration and the hampering effect that those turrets can give you if they are well placed here. The value proposition is good for Sim right now. We have these high sustained compositions. Pulse bomb drop there, Chronic able to deftly slide out of the way. We'll see Beluga's Platoon almost get that checkpoint off that fight.
Yeah, they back up just slightly here. They'll give up some... This is the spot they got pushed into the last time, though, that I didn't really love. Is like, Chronic gets up here on the high ground. Yeah, they get pushed into the stairway here. Is it's going to be an overclock there. It takes out Halo.
That's huge. Sohail under extreme duress there. Again, Chronic finding the perfect pick to start that fight with, and then... Well, it is elementary. Again, the
whatever reason they don't want to hold that tube. like this tube right here, like Beluga's in Platoon, they give it up. That's the second time in a row where they've allowed, I know the last time I believe it was like a Strider in Chronic that wrapped around through there and pushed them into like that staircase. I feel like you got to control that. You can't give up that high ground, especially mid-map.
Big fight coming up here. Ults honestly favor Pirates in Pajamas. Seems to be into the backside though. Bun, she's going for it. Did she remain? She might have pulled out there, but look how low Sawhill is, and Stone is well positioned to capitalize on that ramping damage. Okay, Kitsune Rush comes out here from Beluga's Platoon. They take advantage of it. Sawhill's able to run Strider into the ground, but eventually it's a trade of tanks. Stone, though, not realizing how charged up Bun is. He's trying to keep a track of her right now, and it's actually Halo that brings him down. However, now Lucio reigns supreme as Magic Mball finds 3 to end the fight. Pirates in Pajamas looking good now at that checkpoint to boot.
Yeah, he'll back out to try and speed some of the teammates back into the swing of things. So it's just going to be going back to get Stone. I feel like it's worth it though, just to get that checkpoint. I mean, that is massive. There's TP. Huge investment there from Beluga's Platoon. That was Beat and Kitsune Rush kind of like layered on top of each other.
Pirates in Pajamas could go for like a cheap Kitsune Rush fight here. Terror Surge probably not too much of a concern for them. They're going to go for it. Yep, pop that ultimate and go straight ahead. Wall now being deployed here by Bun. Chronic trying to dance it as well as they possibly can. Oh, that could have been ugly. Magic Mball able to avoid Chronic and avoid a multi-kill scenario by their own hand as that Pulse Bomb was well and truly adhered. Soil is down here, so with the looks of things, Pirates in Pajamas kind of get what they want. They're in a good position to reassume bot control now and get back to business.
Yeah, as it looked like Sol's actually going for the Orisa ult inside there. It does charge up like way faster, but there was just so much damage in that close quarters. Not able to get anything massive with
That's
it.
not good.
Affinity takes out neutral. That is bad.
Bun here having to retreat to the high ground once more. Damn, even Orisa melts under the scrutiny of Malga. That is scary. Once that armor's gone, that damage mitigation is a thing of the past. Chronic also with another overclock here, thinking about finding a way onto that high ground, but Beluga's Platoon, that's going to be the first place they check when they hear the voice line from the Canadian hero. Stone brought down, though, another Kiriko pick for neutral to absolve themselves of previous crimes, and oh my goodness, it's ball for business. Everybody running back and forth. that is tough to follow. But unable to bring Magic Mball down just with the architecture set up prior to the fight starting in Beluga's Platoon. They're still chasing, man. 25 meters in this now as we're under half of the round left.
Yes, I think Pirates in Pajamas, like, look, if that was like they probably could have invested sound barrier into that. They had it. I think just playing this a little bit safe, knowing that Beluga's Platoon hasn't even gotten that checkpoint there, having the sound barrier for this next fight be huge here. Just trying to force them around this corner. It's actually allowing Pirates in Pajamas to build up towards this Kitsune Rush as well.
Pastel, I think, knows that Kiriko and Sojourn are both nearby. Is hoping that maybe Power Slider gets used first. Magic Mball, that's dangerous! Flying too close to the sun, apparently. And now's an opportunity to get a free pulse throw down. You already got the Lucio, so really you've already had the impact in this fight that you're looking for. Kitsune Rush here used by Pirates in Pajamas, maybe to aid a hasty retreat, but that's not going to be happening. They're going to be falling one by one here. Strider just doing Malga things, staying alive late in the fight. Hang on a minute, it's going to be a sound barrier that has to be used here by Halo to keep them alive inside the cage match. And Pirates in Pajamas have one of their own. Instead, they start to force back. Halo brought down by the Malga. Strider still looking for more. Will content himself with bringing down that turret, but that did not turn the direction Beluga's Platoon thought it would.
Yeah, and I thought they had it. I mean, they get that early first pickoff. Pastel, she's up on the high ground there, and one of the players, I believe it's Magic Mball, the Lucio, gets hit by that sim turret. Like, the damage is pretty good now, and it obviously has that slow effect and just chases down that Lucio, gets that first pick. But man, it is difficult to win if you're not going to get the Mog out of the equation. I mean, just Strider able to live for so long.
This is incredibly chaotic here. Pirates in Pajamas not really working with any big ultimates here, so happy to take an ultless fight in fairly neutral territory. Bot's got a fair bit of walking to do to be able to threaten the checkpoint here for Beluga's Platoon.
Yeah, the 3K with the sim turrets right by the bot. So I just drop those down and let them just go to work, as this should be Beluga's Platoon getting the checkpoint. They do have potentially, a window here, right? Kitsune Rush and Terror Surge here. You're down to 1:35. They're going to use this Kitsune Rush like sideways over the objective.
Neutral though, copping a fair bit of damage early now. Attention on Strider. Can the Malga stay alive under this level of scrutiny? Checkpoint achieved here for Beluga's Platoon. The Pirates in Pajamas, the objective is not so much stopping the checkpoint. They know they're not favored in the ultimate fight. It's about halting any further progress into their territory. Chronic's charged up and is close to an overclock here. That represents an opportunity. One threatening a TP into the back line. That was the Terror Surge, and that's a ton of damage. Strider, Stowe, and Chronic fall like dominoes. In Beluga's Platoon now, they can really start to threaten the lead.
I mean, that is massive. I didn't really think they got a ton out of the Kitsune Rush to fight earlier, but the Terror Surge, like you mentioned, combination there. Pulse Bomb used as well. Tons of damage there. Beluga's Platoon getting very close, not taking the lead just yet, but right at the goal.
They've got to go. Javelin almost
they gotta win this fight.
Platoon the lead there. Somehow Magic Maple was able to keep things stalled out, but they are so low they can't be part of the fight, and Pastel chased them to the ends of the earth. Magic Maple, all he was trying to do was stall and gets punished for it. Stone drops down, lasered to pieces by Bun, and Beluga's Platoon now have themselves the lead. And they draw the Kitsune Rush out of Pirates in Pajamas. And there's 16 seconds left. This is getting ugly now for the team who was poised to take the series away.
Yeah, Beluga's Platoon has their own Kitsune Rush, potentially trying to get a full map completion here. Would be huge in terms of maybe give them a little bit more confidence moving forward in the series.
Tracer down, Pastel extending a little too far perhaps. Neutral with the Kitsune Rush from behind toward Pirates in Pajamas would be...
I wonder if they save it. I wonder if they just give up here, like, and, save it, maybe see if they can draw some ultimates out. But the bot's getting away from them. They have to be careful here.
They might be okay with the bot moving away to some degree. Here's that choke. I see. Cage fight thrown down straight into the choke here. All of Beluga's Platoon caught together, but a Terror Surge here from Sawhill. It's only Divinity caught by that one. Chronic finds a stunning headshot with that rail onwards neutral. Not an easy target to connect with under the best of circumstances. And so the Pirates will be able to get into a position to assail this lead, but again, 25 meters in overtime, that is a lot to ask.
It is everything pretty much used here, though, for Beluga's Platoon. Chronic here with an overclock. Could be massive, right? Overclock, you get like a kill or two. Divinity, some healing, put down some damage. You end up with a Kitsune Rush. You're in a spot where you can actually end up taking the lead.
It's on the table, we'll say that much. Chronic with a great charge rail in the previous fire has a chance to deploy many of those with that overclock. Trying to really create a lot of space here. Look at this. Full-scale retreat
this fight
now.
Just being neutral is bad for Beluga's Platoon, I feel like.
Cardiac Overdrive might have been enough to perturb them, I think. Chronic now under a bit of pressure, but look at Sawhill losing much of that armor. Eventually, though, Beluga's Platoon able to lean in and find their first elimination. It's Chronic out of the picture. Overclock already had been used anyway. Sawhill's quite happy to sit up here on the high ground, but they are giving meters and meters to Beluga's Platoon. But now is the time to snap back. Sound barrier for Halo here, and this should seal it. Really well played by Beluga's Platoon there. They had that lead, they let that fight go, they let the bot get away from them, save up the ultimates and end the map.
Yeah, as they end up holding on there towards the end. So Beluga's Platoon hold on in the series here, give themselves a chance. And once we're off of that Malga, Malga, Reaper, Sombra, Mirror, you start to see some of, obviously the incredibly talented players on those roles, right? But when you're looking at heroes that maybe limit the skill ceiling, right, or skill expression, that kind of brings everybody a little bit closer to neutral. But right there, when you see they're able to play different things, like having Pastel play the Tracer and Bun play the Sim, right, and there's a lot of creativity and individuality you can bring to the game there. They come up huge there and they get a map win.
See, avenues for skill expression really get expanded with Symmetra and Tracer, for example. Two heroes that can kind of really just create scenarios that you don't see very often. Magic Mball there, that quick 3k was a good look. This is about where Beluga's Platoon started to fight their way back into the game. And again, we see the Orisa find some value, right? Some of these Terror Surges are quite nasty. Not easy to opt out of the Malgamira. But Sawhill found a lot of value, not just with the Terror Surge, a couple of Javelins that really made contesting very difficult. The space creation via Javelin's been also very, very important here, especially when you have a Symmetra that needs a little bit of room, or at least a little bit of safe zone to get charged up in the first place.
Yeah, and it feels like all you need the Orisa to do is just live, right? Live and allow the Sim to just charge up, right? And then you feel like that, you can win against this Malga, right? Just burn him down with the sim beam time and time again. Like, as the fight gets longer, the team that has that sim's going to come out on top.
I do think that Symmetra Wall is quite important here as well. It really shuts the Sojourn down. That one is the obvious one, of course, but forces Stone to play out of like effective line of sight for healing purposes to push through that, which is pretty dangerous.
Look at that right click. I mean, that is... we didn't get a chance to get in and see that when I know we were watching the game. We saw just Chronic fall at the hands of Bun, but she just hit that secondary fire at range, just takes him out. Quite a few moments like that, actually. Yeah, Bun, picking off like traces as well on occasion, which with the primary fire can be hard to do, but a well-charged secondary fire can account for a significant portion of that tracer's already pretty limited health pool. Do you play it again if you're Blues Platoon? Like, do you just decide to just say, screw it, we're not going to play Maga, we're going to play Sam or Risa, we're going to try and just, like, you know, exist in the neutral for a while, let Sim get ramped up, and, you know, try and go that route? Or do you think we see them try and mirror the Maga here?
I think you can run it back. You can run this Symmetra comp back, depending on the point that we're playing Surasa on. Now, some of them lend themselves much more to Sim than others, right? You have a lot of archways, windows, and stuff where it's like easy turret setups, and like you can interact with the point pretty comfortably as Symmetra. Yep. Some of them a little bit more open, right? And really require that your main tank is in a safe spot, is creating space, and is also being, you know, comfortably topped up here. So I don't hate it. I think, like, you know, broadly, I don't know if this really influences our discussion about the Orisa versus Malga compositions, but you can see it's no simple thing to drag that Orisa down. Fortify gives her a heck of a lot of durability, and also, you know, during Terror Surge as well, it's sometimes just a defensive answer.
It's another Fortify, right?
Makes a lot of space, allows your Sim to come in behind that space as well, and yeah, it's another Fortify. It's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you knock back the Maga with like a spear, right? As he's like, not as he's charging in, he's like just unmovable during that, but like just, you know, walking forward, right? I would probably just go away from the Maga. Like, if you're not comfortable with it, there's no sense in going down, you know, losing here in a matchup, a mirror matchup where you're just like, oh man, we hate playing this, we're not good at it, or, you know, but we feel like we have to play it because it's a mirror. Like, I think you'd feel much better losing, knowing, okay, well, we played something we're typically pretty good at. It's just there's a comp on the other side that might be a little bit too strong.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, that's our take on whether you try not back into the Malga mirror. I think it's pretty safe to say that we weren't over the moon about how the Beluga Platoon, like, played just the mirror. Like, again, more on, like, in the neutral sense, more on some of those cooldown rotations here. And maybe, and this wouldn't be the first time today we've seen a team just decide not to go there and find a composition they're more comfortable with, which to me tells you that this is nothing like the GOATS meta, because there was no other option than to play that particular.
What do you mean? They played 3 DPS towards the end of it, and that was the answer with a ball.
Actually, I mean, one team found success with that. It was that Shanghai Dragons roster.
Yeah.
In a world where the DPS passive that we have now existed then, it would have been much more universally viable, I think, to play that, especially with how with how Thara splashes that damage there. So I think that's something to bear in mind before people get a little bit too ahead of themselves. It is very early days to call a new meta game that will reign for a long time.
Like, for the people who play, the patch goes live on Tuesday. It's Saturday. For the people who play like 70 ranked games, probably between now and then, it's probably feels like an eternity with Maga in the mix. But
I mean, y'all need Jesus.
We're a few days in.
Y'all need Jesus.
We're a few days in.
70 ranked games. Y'all need Jay Silly. My God.
I mean, look, they're just gaming, right? You ain't got nothing to do. You're just playing some Overwatch, right? And then all of a sudden now Maga gets in the mix and
you're minding your own business, grinding ranked, and then Maga happens. Yeah, well, adapt or die, as they say. Surasa next, and if we needed, Shambhali Monastery would be our decider in this series. Again, expect a fast-paced map. I do think that, like how that the first few seconds, I'd say 5 to 6 seconds of these neutral fights plays out will really start to dictate how these flashpoints go. Remember, you don't have to win many fights to win a flashpoint in its entirety, and you might get what you asked for, Matt. Beluga's Platoon may opt to stay with the Orisa setup.
This is what I want to see. Like, hey, they looked pretty good with this Orisa-based composition. Pastel can play the Sojourn here in combination with Bun on the Sim, and maybe look the ramping damage of the Sim plus like the burst damage of the Sojourn. Maybe you're able to make a huge dent in this comp.
We're off to the races here now in our fourth map, in this series. Beluga's Platoon able to get one back, and honestly, by the end, it was pretty convincing. They gave a lot of ground in order to ensure an advantaged fight in terms of economy and positioning. So don't be fooled by the progress bars of that one.
A lot of fight happens here. Like typically one team wants to take purchase on the point, and then one team kind of takes this angle.
It might be too risky for a Reaper comp to play on like wide on point against the Sojourn.
If they kind of read that there's going to be Sojourn and stuff on the other side, then yes, it's how they get Magic Mball early. So Beluga's Platoon should be able to, look at this, use some of the Symmetra mobility, TP their way to the spot.
But I love it. You just abuse Symmetra right click if you're playing inside that small corridor. So both teams actually have a reason to not want to fight out on the point. This turns out that Beluga's Platoon in practice was the far more compelling one.
It's cardiac overdrive. So maybe you feel like they're not going to push in here for a little bit. So Pirates in Pajamas trying to build up, maybe towards a Coalescence plus EMP.
I believe Chronic is a loose end there though. They'll look for a way in. Pastel, a lot of poke damage being taken there. And again, not great sightlines on the rest of this Pirates in Pajamas roster either, as evidenced by the railgun actually starting to deplete charge, which takes a while to happen. Here's the Coalescence here. Pirates get enough healing on that Death Ball to make their way through, and Sawhill gets bowled over. Sim TP used to get Beluga's Platoon out of danger here. Again, in theory, a better sideline for Sojourn, but very quickly that's going to be interrupted by Strider. Does he do be Strided?
Yeah, it's like you get 70% on the point. Is Pastel not able to make it out with her life, so gonna get a full reset. Where the biggest thing there is like the amount of pressure they put on Sawhill, right? You gotta figure out a way to keep the Orisa alive. I think there it's maybe getting like having a Sim TP like preset up to get the Orisa out with their life. But see, now it's Kasune Rush here from neutral, trying to get point back here for Beluga's Platoon.
Kind of Pirates are more than happy to give a bit of ground for now. Stone there, contesting the point there through Rayform, I think. Is Pastel now with the railgun trying to cut through some of that sound barrier health. Halo has the latest sound barrier. Will they have a chance to make good use of it here? Again, the Pirates in Pajamas flip the point back and then disengage entirely. They have to know that Halo has that Lucio ultimate coming. How do they play around it? Sawhill, can they keep Sawhill alive? Halo can come in with a sound barrier, and they do. That is beautiful stuff. They managed to keep this Orisa standing, and then Halo, well, she knows exactly when to bring that ultimate down. Spoilers, it's exactly when she's able to press Q.
They try and get aggressive. It's a nice sim wall there from Bun, and then also the sound barrier from Halo, plus the Terror Surge from Saul, able to give a little bit of extra survivability with another Fortify. Could end up having Beluga's Platoon here take this first checkpoint.
91 and counting, convincing fight there. You can still come back in with a lot. Coalescence here, cage fight, Death Blossom.
They can test.
Chronic goes down. That doesn't actually mean this is an instantly lost fight, but losing the Lucio, I don't like their odds now. They're going to have to go for it anyway. Here comes the push. Cardiac Overdrive in play. Stone looking for a way in. There is none. The entirety of Beluga's Platoon, they give up the point, but remember, this is 99 to 99. They've got to come back and contest, and they've got to run straight at the Reaper. Stone found two. Is it enough? Bun comes forward here, fully charged and ready to rumble. Strider needs to try and force this Symmetra away, but they don't have the damage. They don't have the consistency. They've got to retreat for now. Magic Mball kept the point contested, and now the sim wall is deployed. Strider just wants to be a presence. That's all. Stay alive. Keep it contested. Keep that wick alive. But Bun now is just exploiting the advantage offered by that wall. It comes down, and Bun can't get away in time. Divinity runs in with the Bardic Orb and claims a kill on the Symmetra. And there's no way for Beluga's Platoon to get in. First flashpoint. Pirates in Pajamas, but my God, it was a close one.
Ooh, that's how it goes right down to the wire. I think the biggest thing was, the Reaper damage that comes down. It's a Death Blossom. It kind of ends up resulting things in a really weird 3-on-3. But Bun with the Sim on the point is doing so much damage, but she can't exactly chase because Sim's like a glass cannon. Doesn't want to get like kind of caught out, by Strider or any of the other players from Pirates in Pajamas around that first corner.
There's a stalemate.
Yeah, overclock here on the rotation.
Chronic needs to stay alive to make use of this EMP. A flanking angle, a little bit of poke damage, that will do it. We'll just wait a couple seconds longer. It's the latter option. Bam! EMP comes in, catches 4. Halo again, no chance to make use of the sound barrier. By the time they can, it's far too late.
Yes, this will be a checkpoint that'll go to Pirates in Pajamas here early on, as make a little bit of a change, right? You're not exactly going to have the Reaper in it. It's going to be Tracer, a little bit more mobility, not really kind of focusing on the tanks. As Bunch, he'll go over and play May, and you'll have Pastel play Tracer. So some swaps in terms of the DPS here for both teams, just trying to get an advantage. Halo gets knocked up and killed.
Thankfully, Halo, she wasn't trying to go for a sound barrier in that moment. That would have been ugly. Magic Mball, however, did. Pirates in Pajamas used both of their support ultimates here, but remember, 2 fights with a bit of stagger. That could be an entire flashpoint there and then, so they want to try and flip this one back obnoxiously. That one got flipped for BP.
Just the charge on the Maga, it's like so nasty. Like, it does a decent amount of damage, and then like that knock up, like right there, Halo, nothing they could do is Stone in position to just get that kill as soon as they see the Lucio fall in the sky.
Not a lot to work with now for the Pirates. Cage match is fine. Makes an easier pulse potentially. Stone may elect to use that on an individual basis though, before the fight even begins. Perhaps that would end it. Gonna depend on choice of target here. 95 and counting. Beluga's Platoon have to step up here. Soil does so. Javelin spin to keep them hale and hardy on the point, but now that armor's gone. Here's the cage match. Somehow, again, I guess the Fortify allows you to walk out of that one, and so Soil gets back to safety. Beat from Halo. It kept him going for a little bit longer, but will it be enough? Strider was taken down. A trade of main support for main tank. Probably happy with that. But the May is down. Bun has been removed. Recall forced there by Stone. It's going to be a late EMP, and that might be the decider. You're not coming back from that one. No way. Another huge play from Chronic to secure the second. And now, Pirates in Pajamas need one more to be done.
Yeah, and it becomes a lot harder now for Sol Hill, because like the damage before, you were really just kind of like focusing on directly what was in front of you, right? With that like Reaper, like you really weren't worried about anything else. Now you're getting shot from every which direction, right? Trying to use Spear, Spin, Fortify, and as we've seen on previous maps and just previous games, as soon as the armor of the Orisa falls off, pretty squishy in terms of tank.
Strider makes his presence known. Irrefutably, Halo somehow getting picked off there. I think a Sombra hack might have been involved. Stone getting credit, but that was a team effort. Make no mistake. Oh dear, that is dirty. Coalescence? That is a cheaply won fight here, and Pirates in Pajamas have been nigh unassailable late in these flashpoints.
Yeah, you're playing like historically dive damage dealers here for Pirates in Pajamas, going with the Maga in terms of tanks. So they'll match this, but instead of matching with the Maga, they'll use that Orisa. It's going to be a hack on a Sol, trying to use the Terror Search.
Yeah. Not exactly something that strikes fear into the hearts of Pirates in Pajamas there. All able to disperse from it. Soil overextends here into the Maga. Strider with the suplex. Make it 2 here for Pirates in Pajamas Maga player, and they look very comfortable now. They do spend a sound barrier in that fight. I want to make that clear, and they'll be dealing with Kitsune Rush in the next. But they can afford to drop a fight here if they can build some big ultimates, and another EMP from Chronic will be timed right for the end of the round, potentially.
Yeah, you gotta be careful though, right? You use the rush, you push in behind it, and that Maga is just gonna go right with a charge, right on through it. Land down, big damage, and then those flankers can follow up. Maybe even with an EMP.
Pulse from Pastel, I think, was meant for Strider. Woo! Takes them low, but really doesn't bother them too much. Magic Mball got stuck there on the wall. I think maybe even a Javelin from the Orisa. So again, Pirates in Pajamas, they get to 99. They can see the point.
They do have Coalescence plus EMP for this next fight, so maybe you decided like hey, we're okay giving this up because you have an idea that there's no sound barrier yet on the other side because you just saw the fight earlier. But still, it's a long way to get back to this point. This next fight kicks off, it might be 60% already to lose Platoon.
They want to end the round now. Pirates, they want to end it now. Chronic positioning just for a very no frills EMP. And they'll get it, but only 2 get caught by it. Decent targets though, they're able to focus down on Halo. So player advantage, Terror Surge, they might throw a spanner in the works. Strider EMP'd for a time. Yeah, and it comes in after, so that ultimate completely shut down, and all of that durability of the Maga basically compromised in that moment as well. 3 on the point here for Pirates in Pajamas. They do flip it back. Magic Mball hoping to try and put Sawhill in an awkward position, but what? It's a Tracer, Moira, Lucio. Not enough to construct a winning strategy with here. Staying alive is all they can really afford to do, and even that might be inadvisable now.
Yeah, I mean, staying alive almost is a worst case scenario, right? Because you're trying to have everybody get back so you can maybe get one more attempt at this.
Oh no! They lost the Orisa just as the bit came through. Halo wasn't able to keep Sawhill up. That is devastating. They still get the flashpoint though. Somehow Pirates in Pajamas aren't able to contest there. So, oh man, you dodged a bullet there, Beluga's Platoon.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Strider able to make it in time. Maybe got pushed back. Maybe there's a boop there that came in from Halo, but that beat was probably intended to keep Sawhill alive, and they end up losing the Orisa, but end up winning the fight in the long run. That could have been a disaster.
Coming to the next. Stone would be the first to the point with a pulse bomb in hand. Magic Mball not expecting to see Bun materialize there. Decloaking the Sombra and again forcing a translocate reposition there on that high ground. Otherwise it would be an environmental kill. Pulse, that's scary. Magic Mball going to hold on to the sound barrier though, and everybody benefits from it. Pulse this time though from Stone gets cut to pieces by the javelin spin. And an EMP thrown in the mix here. You've got to have to follow up, and Chronic at least does. It will be another Pirates point to start.
Yeah, it's that time. Fight kicks up on the upper ledge. Everybody pretty much, you know what? It's really the Chronic EMP that like turns the tides in that fight. Like, fight kind of kicks off some ultimates, but then really that's the one that ends up deciding it. Is Beluga's Platoon. They'll come back with an EMP of their own. I think the damage like follow up is just way better with the Maga than like the Orisa damage follow up after like a EMP, right? The stomp plus just like the machine gun damage from Maga is crazy. But it looks like right now Beluga's Platoon, they want to try and bait them onto the point and bait them into this EMP.
Well, it works. They get 4. The Coalescence still came out from Divinity, but I don't think that's going to be nearly enough to give Pirates in Pajamas a fighting chance here. There's no good targets. The only one playing on the point is really Sawhill on this Orisa. Everyone else playing from the extremities here. That's a really nice set play from Beluga's Platoon. Not a moment too soon, might I add.
Yeah, and you got them to use their Coalescence, right? So Coalescence comes out for Pirates in Pajamas, and it gets absolutely nothing. Divinity's not hit by the EMP, probably thinks it's awesome, but a few players just get hit with it, and then I think it was like 3 or 4, but then they're also not in line of sight of the Coalescence theory. Like, it's no value out of it. As Pirates in Pajamas, they'll go back to, this is the comp they ran on like not on Lijiang Tower, with the Reaper in the mix. So looking to put tons of pressure here on the Sawhill.
Strider obviously having a late line of sight and still contest. Great stick! Unity brought down. No fade opportunity there apparently, and this is looking better and better by the moment for Beluga's Platoon. 3 players left in the fight. This one is another wash here. And chance to equalize on flashpoints now rearing its head.
Oh, this would be a huge comeback here for Beluga's Platoon. I don't think you challenge this. Looks like potentially Pirates in Pajamas, they will. Sombra here gets a touch, sends it into OT. You have both supports, but it does not look like it's in a good spot, right?
You might try and like build Moira ult here. Iconic, if they were really going to fight, they would have popped that EMP in that moment there. Maybe a translate upstairs. Cage fight. Okay, he's going to walk out of that one. That's a big bonus, of course, of having that fortify. Chronic waiting here, seeing Bun and Co just poking, playing again off the point entirely. Luke's Platoon allowed to be flipped here. This is a bit dangerous because now it's a double EMP fight. Volatile as heck.
Yes, I was going to say that's the problem. The longer this goes, you're going to be like in this one fight territory. EMPs come out from both teams. It's going to be Magic Mball and Halo both dropping the beat.
Neither Lucio getting caught by the EMP. That's pretty massive. Terra Surge as only ultimate. That's about it. Coalescence here from Divinity, pretty well placed. That pulse bomb is not really going to bother Strider. It barely tickles, and in fact, the Pirates in Pajamas have made it through. What a way to end this map. Looked like it'd be going 2 apiece, but eventually they're allowed to stay alive long enough, Matt, to build their EMP of their own, to have this disengage from Beluga's Platoon. A stumble there from the team that was trailing. There was a real chance to go all the way on Surasa.
Oh, absolutely. Beluga's Platoon, I think they had their EMP. Bun had the EMP before it was even, available on the opposite side of things. And you just back out a second, right? The flashpoints tick up so fast, you're in last play territory, and then all of a sudden it's just, okay, who who gets better value with the EMPs. EMPs really didn't make a huge difference. Sound barriers come down for both teams. It's just that, the Maga just lives so long. I think Strider picks up 2 in that final fight.
I mean, those EMPs also just build up so quickly right now, so you really only have so much of a time window there to make it work for you. So, man, I love that they managed to take it all the way, though. That did look like a very competitive last match, and it was all due to the changes that we got to see from Beluga's Platoon, right? Like, they opted out of the Maga mirror, and as soon as they opted out of that comp and went on to something which they're just more comfortable on, like the Orisa composition, suddenly it looked way more competitive. So I love that.
And like the Orisa comp even sort of had some issues to start with. It was the DPS that were paired with it, right? We saw the switch over to the Tracer Sombra, right? The classic, the Tracer Sombra look. And all of a sudden, like, you had avenues for individual play, from Pastel and Bun. She's fantastic Sombra. We saw that in map 1 of this series, even if they struggled at times, Beluga Platoon. So good switch late in the map. It just was a little too late, perhaps.
Yeah, I think if Beluga's Platoon could have a little bit of a redo on this series, they probably opt to just not play Maga and just try to make the Orisa work, because they definitely were making some pretty good strides with that Orisa in play. But big shouts to Pirates and Pajamas, so they brought it all series long.
I mean, just here, I mean, like, again, being able to walk out of that Maga ultimate is pretty big for the Orisa. It actually allows you to decide how to create space for your team. Chronic looked great across the series, right? This Sombra play was really on point a lot of the time, especially here in that fight, like catching onto the Lucio on a couple of occasions really required Halo to think a couple of steps ahead in terms of how she was going to be able to have impact in that fight with their ultimate. Getting shut out of a fight and not being able to, use that sound barrier, that's just, it's awful.
It really is. Another player which caught our eye here, Strider on that Maga. Very, very impressive performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all series long, getting like really big value out of the stomps, and then early on in Lijiang Tower, I think you saw just the value out of the cardiac overdrives. Where, look, rosters in the past, right? You could kind of mask some holes in players' games or whatnot with having like large rosters. 8 players, 9 players, right? Like it's going to be a specialist where. I think the world we're in now is like everybody's going to have to play a bit of everything, right? You're going to have to know how to play kind of like every hero in your role, because you never know, like, when a situation like this happens, right? Maga, just like a complete afterthought, right? For multiple seasons now becomes like the tank of the week, right?
I mean, yeah, and again, the expectation at DPS is extremely high. Thankfully, Pastel and Bun were able to switch to Sombra Tracer and instantly like have an impact, right? That's what's going to be required of you, because if you get caught in like an unfavored composition, especially when it comes to your DPS, maybe like your hit scanner's getting absolutely crushed, or you need to find another way to put pressure down on backlines, you have to be able to pivot very quickly. Fortunate that it was able to be done, but I mean, Magic Mball, cheeky little 3K, we saw that in Queen Street, great series overall.
Yeah, Magic Mball doing Magic Mball things. That's kind of what we've known him for as well. So it was really great to see him back in action with that squad. A lot of really great performances there throughout this series, and definitely a player everyone should be having on their radar further down the line of the OWCS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Lucio play was great, right? Being able to get some of these sound barriers off, like, I mean, if the fights look chaotic, even when you're watching it, it's moving twice as fast in the players' minds and like in their play, and being able to like land some of these beats where, players are just with a sliver of health and stay inside a line of sight, but also stay, safe yourself. I mean, it is really difficult to do.
Yeah, we talked about this already earlier today in the EMEA region, that like being able to have a really competent Lucio who has that map awareness and spatial awareness to be able to really bring out those really good displacements of, let's say, Reapers and whatnot, which are throwing themselves at you. That's so crucial to winning out fights.
Yeah, and also like the 5D chess of having to play around like Sombra ult as well, which is like, it's very hard to do. I mean, Zens used to have to do that, right, with even less mobility, so that was quite difficult, but like a bunch of situations, like that's why, like, we talk about Magic Mball. Halo also fantastic in that role over that series, and had to navigate a lot of like really difficult wombo combo situations, right? Like if it's a Death Blossom and the EMP, of course, being able to play from outside of that, it's tough because you have to leave your team, which feels unintuitive as a Lucio player. So being able to do that in a smaller window as possible to have the least detrimental impact on your team from, not being there is really important. And it's a hard balance to strike too.
I even think the amp on the Lucio is massive right now. Being able to, like, when they amp the heals or speed, get people in, out, like, the heal's a little bit underrated when you have this, like, snowball-y type of comp.
Yeah, let's actually hear it from the man himself. Magic Mball is joining us for a very quick chat after that victory. You guys are staying alive, so first, of course, hi.
It's you.
We got you. It's you. It's Magic Mball. First of all, of course, congratulations to you and this squad. Let's talk a little bit about what we just saw, because you were pushed there at the very end once your opponent switched up their composition. What adjustments did you have to make running into an Orisa comp?
Well, on New Queen Street, we were thinking about how to beat it, and we know Sim's pretty good into it. So we tried that, and then we realized that we're not really good at thinking. So we stopped doing that the next map, and we had a lot more success.
Where do you think the strength of this Maga composition comes from? Is it like him as a hero being able to trade in the neutral? Is it like a little bit more flexibility? Like where do you think it comes from, the strength of the comp?
I don't think his kit's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't think he should exist. Like, he was way too strong last patch. I think I was the one Maga one-trick guy on ladder. I was like DMing him all of last patch, like just in case this hero becomes broken, because he is. Like, I was prepared to talk to that guy, because I don't think he should have ever been buffed. He should have been nerfed last patch. Just his invincibility to your whole team for 4 seconds. It's disgusting.
That's a quotable though. That's one for a t-shirt. He just shouldn't exist.
How do you play around just how powerful Malga is right now as a Lucio player? Because not only you have to play around the Malga, but also like around like Sombra EMP, the usual stuff, right? Like having beat timings to shut down maybe pulses and stuff like that. How does it feel, I guess, like, playing Lucio here in the Malga meta as opposed to those in the past? Is it anything like GOATs? People have liked to talk about that, and that's kind of their shorthand way of saying it. Do you feel like it's different?
Remember, it was like that 2023, or 2022 playoffs meta, kind of, or like the Sombra Reaper, like old, like 6-man mirror.
The zombie comp, yeah.
Yeah, you just sit there, and except now you can like get caught on fire and stuff, which like isn't awesome. It's weird. Like Lucio, normally you don't have to aim, and now I'm the one who is like aim the most on the team. Everyone else is just shooting. It's weird.
It's weird, but you make it work, and you make it look good as well. Now, your next match is going to be a rematch against Dreamland, who handed you a 3-1 loss. Obviously, on a different patch. How much of the notes that you took from that last meeting are still applicable in this new meta?
You guys didn't play against them, right? Did you play against Dreamland? No, I think you guys played against
the students.
Did I get it? I might have gotten it wrong.
You got students of the game, right?
Yeah.
In your first matchup, that was like a 3-0. But yeah, I guess I'm still curious what you think about this Dreamland team, because it wasn't like the most convincing win for them in their opener.
Ooh, I think.
Well, they're one of my 7 evil X rosters, so I think they're pretty good. It's gonna be definitely a good kind of grudge match also against them. We haven't really gotten to play each other, and I think both teams think they're better than the other. I don't know, they're good. They're actually quite good. I'm hoping to see that match.
I love that you have a hit list. I'm all about those grudge matches. Let's roll with that. Magic Mball, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck in your next game.
All right, thanks. Have a good day.